Everybody. Been a while since I've done any podcasting or video or whatever you want to call it. Just been an interesting 5 days. Fair share of drama was hanging out at my house. More than my fair share of drama was hanging out at my house. We'll put it that way and leave it at that. That's as much as I care to get into it. But I think the thing that I'd like to talk about today is boundaries in a relationship. And it can be with anybody. Whether it's a parent, spouse, significant other, coworkers, friends. I think that a ton of that basically every relationship needs some boundaries that are understood. Because it ends up making the relationship healthier in the long term. Here's my logic for that. There's people that are always going to need or want something from you. But and there's nothing wrong with helping them out in and of itself, or being there for them, or doing what they ask. But if it comes at a detriment to you, or the things that you want to do, or the things that you need to do, and if you do it just out of a sense of attempting to keep people that are in your life happy, eventually you're not going to want to spend as much time with that person, help them out the next time, go hang out with them, go do this with them, or whatever the case may be. And that is a very fertile breeding ground for resentment. Give you a case in point. There's someone that I know who has had to be helped out of situations in the past. Well, they didn't have to be helped, but they requested help out of situations in the past, needing to move, not having a vehicle capable of moving, furniture, things of that nature, as well as some other stuff. Well, where this becomes problematic is this person seemed to expect this help from people as time went on. And it got to the point where everyone's like, well, we'll help them, but they need to learn to stand on their own and take care of their stuff. And there's a lot of resentment there because, well, they've never helped me when I was in this, that, or the other situation. So, because I didn't ask for it, because I didn't need it, because I could take care of myself. So it soured a relationship. so open boundaries, like, okay, for example, look, I can't help you do this right now because I've got these other things going on, and I can't drop everything and run to your rescue, or I can't loan you this money because it put me in a pickle, or I can't whatever. And even if it's the kind of thing of, look, I'm doing this for our benefit, whether you want to admit it, whether you'll see it or not, see it that way or not. If you draw a boundary with someone and stick to it, you're not going to be as likely to get as easily irritated with them, because on things that are a strain or stress to you, you're telling yourself that you won't do those things or do them as often. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, several years back, some friends of mine, we had a night that was once a month. We would get together, smoke cigars, drink a little whiskey, and eat huge, ridiculous-sized cuts of red meat. And it was amazing. And that was just a great night. We'd get together, we'd smoke our cigars and be sitting around talking while in a rotation someone's manning the grill, and we just catch, and it was once a month, first Saturday of every month we do this, and it just became that, so that we weren't trying to schedule around everybody, and so everybody just tried to keep the first Saturday of the month clear at about 5 to 6 p.m. till midnight. And nothing ever happened. No one ever got highly inebriated. It was just a good time to sit around and appreciate an indulgence once a month with friends. Well, all of us, with all the core group, with one exception, ended up married and with kids a few years after this got started. Maybe another exception. I can't remember everyone right off the top of my head, but we ended up having to cut back on the amount of time that we could spend hanging out with each other, because it's time that we needed to spend with our spouses and our children. Especially, a 21 and over party. The core group of us, the guys that I was closest with out of the group, we will still get together on occasion, and we'll have a thing at a friend's house where everyone can bring their kids, and there's stuff for them to do, and there's stuff for the adults to do, and socialize and hang out, and it's always a good time. But due to the time constraints of being family people now, and not single or in a dating relationship, we've had to prioritize and draw boundaries around our time for the sake of our families. So, whenever you draw a line with someone, just remember that it's not always a detriment, and that you prioritizing your family, there's nothing wrong with that. You have got to take care of your primary relationships. As an example, every time I got a message from a friend, or coworkers wanted to hang out after work for a little bit, grab a bite, volunteer position was available, and someone directly requested my help to do this, or there was just pick your thing. I, provided it did not interfere with my highly inflexible work schedule, could physically do it. However, all of those sacrifices of my time would end up interfering in mine and my wife's relationship. That is the most important relationship to me. She's the mother of my kids, and if she's not taken care of, she won't be able to take care of the kids as much. And if I don't take care of her, that's not good at all. There's a ton of bad scenarios that spawn from an inattentive spouse. So me drawing boundaries around my time is just me protecting myself and my wife and my kids. And I apologize, folks, for the sun glare on the camera. There's nothing I can do about it. Unfortunately, I do not have or want tinted windows in my car. Everybody's got a bad habit. So, just something for y'all to think about is boundaries in your relationships, and I don't know what that looks like for you. If it's a friend that, while they're fun to hang out with, they may not have your overall best interests at heart, but they are just a boatload of fun to hang out with. And they have issues respecting the fact that you might have a life with a significant other or a spouse or kids or other family demands. If it's coworkers that want to hang out every Friday night after work, if it's take your pick. There's nothing wrong with hanging out with friends. A few weeks ago, there was a work-related meeting that I had to go to in the evening, and unfortunately it landed on a night that I had off, but I needed to be there. Well, I carpooled with a buddy of mine to the same meeting. We get up there, it lasted around an hour. And we leave the meeting, and we're going back to his house to drop him off. Well, on the way back, he gets a phone call from a friend of his, and we ended up having this impromptu hangout for an hour to an hour and a half, and it was a great decompress for me. It kicked the weekend off on a very good note for me. The three of us had a blast. My buddy had a motorcycle that's in storage. He yanked it out and showed it to me, and I don't own a motorcycle, but it was really cool. And his buddy had just bought a old 1972, 74 Ford LTD sedan land yacht that was in about as good a condition as you can get, unless the person was completely OCD about their vehicle and or restored. It was, especially for this part of the country where you do get some winter weather and salt and such. It was just an amazingly clean vehicle. So it was pretty cool, and we looked at that, fired it up, poked around in it. It had the ugly cloth seats from the 70s. It had air conditioning, which was an option on vehicles then. It had cruise control, which was a big deal in the 70s. It had I don't remember if it had power windows or locks. I'm a bit of a gearhead, so if any of these podcasts I start to devolve on cars, forgive me.